Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this channel. Today we have Mr. Vivek Jha, partner at Fox Mandal and Associates. He's previously served with organizations like Khaitan and Co, Vertices Partners, Shardul Amachan Mangaldas, etc. And today he's here to discuss with us contours of being a mergers and acquisitions lawyer, a PEVC lawyer. So, sir, thank you so much for accepting our invitation at such short notice. And in fact, it's a pleasure to talk to you considering you're an NLU Jodhpur alumnus, and I myself have graduated from NLU Jodhpur. So there are a
Right.
lot of people in the community who would be very excited to see your interview.
Yeah.
The first question that usually all of the students would have is that which laws do we need to even look at to even start off our journey as an M&A PEVC lawyer in India? Yes.
Yeah. Firstly, Ashna, thank you very much for inviting me for this talk. You see, it is always exciting being on talk shows like this, sharing your experience, and in the meanwhile, doing collective learning as well. You
Right.
see, it's not learning for the viewers; it is also learning for me. If I'm able to reach out to them with a lot of clarity, it's a learning for me as well. So happy
Right.
to be here and look forward
Awesome.
to meaningful interaction so that every viewer gets something out of this interaction whenever they are watching this episode.
Yes, sir.
So on the first question, so the primary law one should lay their hands on and should be very, very well versed with our Indian Contract Act. It's very basic law. And if your concepts are clear, Indian contract law actually helps you to graduate and grasp company law better. You see, end of the day, every action of a company is one, in a way, is a contractual action, is a contractual arrangement, be it in mergers and acquisition, be it in fundraise transaction. You have shareholders agreement, you have share subscription agreement, you have share purchase agreement, you have confidentiality agreement, you have due diligence reports, you see, you have employment agreement. So all these are basically in a way are contractual arrangements. So if your basics are very clear on Indian Contract Act, then the next subject one should try to master and know very well is Indian Companies Act. It's the mother of corporate law practice in India. You cannot envisage doing a due diligence without knowing Indian Companies Act. Cannot happen, because your first chapter of due diligence, which is a corporate chapter, is broadly and solely based on Indian Companies Act and the other guidelines and circulars of relevant regulatory authority. You see, so first is the Contract Act. Second is Indian Companies Act. Third is, you see, all PEVC practice dealing with funds, being a funds lawyer or representing a fund, you will have to interact with regulatory authority depending on the nature of your fund. So for example, one should be very good at AIF regulations, SEBI mandates on the funds actually. Previously, funds were set up in India as FECIs actually. Venture capital funds also were there. Now we have AIFs. So SEBI mandates, SEBI circulars, SEBI guidelines in relation to the funds, Indian Companies Act, coupled with very strong basics of Indian Contract Act. I think if somebody knows these three, he's a good starter. Now, to add to this, actually, you see, now if you see PE, VC or M&A practice generally, I'm talking about acquisition transaction, fundraise transactions generally for our discussion. Now, you will see 75 to 80% of the work which a lawyer does in these transactions are commercial in nature and not legal in nature. Right. So Companies Act will lay down the broad rules, etc., how investment should happen, what resolutions to be passed, how to change the director, what filings to be done, etc. SEBI mandate will lay down what are the the rules of the game for that transaction, etc., if that is applicable. But the main intention should, for a corporate lawyer in PE and VC, especially an M&A, should also be to understand the commercials around the transaction, because your clients expect you to counsel them on commercials also. So it is not only law. That is why corporate lawyering is a different kind of legal advocacy. It is not entirely 100% law like a courtroom. You see, it is around 70-75% commerce. And if you understand commerce well, commercial nitty-gritties well of your transaction, you will be able to understand your clients better, right? That will help you to deliver your nuanced opinions to the clients better.
Exactly. So I think so you like actually mentioned really good points as to what contract act. Like a lot of students, while prepping for these interviews, also simply negate contract act, thinking ki chalo, we only have to read SEBI AIF regulations or like only Companies Act. But like definitely knowing contracts is I think the bedrock of everything, like how you mentioned all employment agreements and everything. And in fact, I think
Exactly. So
the second major point here that you mentioned is no knowledge of commerce, like how important it is to be actually commercially aware also what is happening in the country and like what are the international national updates. So I completely resonate on the idea, and I think most of it is often sidelined by candidates who are prepping for such interviews. So I think that's a very interesting, insight that you have given us. So I think just developing on this. So let's say while somebody is applying for an intern position or a fresher or a lateral hire position, let's say so someone with 2 to 4 years of experience, what skills would you expect? Because there's a basic conception, or I would say misconception, that a lot of people have, that we all need to know how to draft documents, we all need to know how to draft the full
right.
DDR, etc. So if you could just give a clarity that at which level, what sort of skills are required. Yes.
To answer this, look, for an intern, again, I said, you see, as we discussed while responding to the first input question, for an intern, she should be very clear with the basics actually. When he goes in for internship in a corporate law firm, let's say in his 4th year, 5th year, very, very clear on basics. So that whatever work he does, he is able to grasp. Now, when students are doing internship, just doing internship is not enough, because you are doing internship for, let's say, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, maximum 8 weeks, right? I don't think any law firm gives 8 weeks internship unless it's a long-term internship. Let's say 4 weeks, 6 weeks, etc. So amount of work you do, now it is up to that intern. When that intern goes back to his college, goes back to his institution, how that intern further develops on the learnings and the work that was given to an intern. So for example, an intern was given work, a research paper or some query in relation to the gift city in Gujarat. It's emerging as a very, very big practice area. Now that intern when he's back to the college, should develop more and more knowledge on the gift city. What is gift city? What are the paraphernalia of gift city? How does gift city operate? Take projects on gift city, write articles on gift city, write blogs on gift city. There are fantastic opportunities to build your profile, build your knowledge base, provided you are able to further develop on the inputs that you have received in your internship. Okay, this is for the intern that way. Conceptual clarity to the extent possible is a must, and that really helps an intern to grasp as much as possible and further develop. Now coming to early associates like A0 or A1, you see, now typically what happens when an intern when an A0 or A1 is doing, let's say for example, a due diligence, they're merely making a chapter of due diligence, for example. Now, what happens? Anybody who is doing the due diligence is not concerned with what happens to the findings of due diligence subsequently, right? What associate should be aware of the larger picture. And that is what is going to give them more interest in their work. So, for example, if I'm an associate, I am part of the due diligence team along with my colleagues, right? I'm doing a corporate chapter, materials agreement chapter, whatever chapter. Now, while I am doing that, right, reviewing documents, reviewing applicable laws, giving my findings, but I should also see the larger picture and be in touch with my seniors, right, as to what happened to the findings that were put by me, for example, in the due diligence report. Did they become condition precedents? Did they become condition subsequent? Did they become
Right.
closing condition? What was the pushback from the counterparty? Why
Right.
something which had to be condition precedent from your side, which you had recommended as a legal advisor, as a due diligence advisor,
Right.
became condition subsequent? Now, what happens when you see the larger picture, when you see the whole transaction cycle, you appreciate your work more, because you know the inputs you are putting in your due diligence chapter and the due diligence report are going to find some meaningful place in the real documents, which will be negotiated between the parties. And typically it happens, for example, but at times due diligence team members are different, the transaction team members are different, right? A due diligence team member, especially associates, do their work, they move on to
Right.
another due diligence, move on to another assignment. They lose the sight of
They are
what has
detached.
happened in the transaction, right?
Right.
Now,
Right, right.
what happens when you lose the sight of the larger picture? You have basically micro focused yourself on certain segments only, right? It may not be interesting doing due diligence beyond 20 times, right? But when you see the larger picture, okay, and for first 2 years you're doing due diligences, for example, then you are becoming part of the transaction team which actually does transaction document. If you know the larger picture already, then your transition is way easier. It
Right.
is nothing new to you actually, that way.
Right, to
So
understand the
this is
underlying issues basically that are forming the
right.
transaction documents, right? Right. At the lateral level, do you expect people to have, let's say, a working knowledge of the definitive agreements and like the negotiation points on those agreements as
So what happens at the lateral level? At lateral level depends on the lateral level actually. Is it associate level? Is it senior associate level? Is it principal associate level? Or is it a partner level? At every level, you see the expectations and the role is different. At associate level, role will be different.
well?
Let's say if there is a A1 lateral, A2 or
Hmm.
A3 lateral, he knows
Hmm.
about the transaction documents, knows generally about the issues in the transaction
Hmm.
document, and he has knowledge of what he has done previously. I think that
Hmm.
will work to start with. Okay, and then
Okay.
you can further develop. But when
Okay.
it comes to senior associate and between principal associate,
Hmm.
leadership skills, service, on the transaction documents,
Hmm.
front ending the deal to an extent is
Okay.
also actually required, because you see the senior associate to principal associate, they
Hmm.
may not front end very complicated deal, but
Hmm.
they can do their bit, right? First round of
Right.
negotiation, maybe second round of negotiation, and then while finalizing everything, ensuring that the deal goes through, then that's the partner role actually. Because
Right.
ultimately, every client wants a partner comfort, a senior level comfort, you see
Right. Right.
that. And that is where partner comes into picture. The better the principal associates are,
Hmm.
partner it frees up partners time, and partners are able to do more business development actually.
Right. BD
and
work.
that's and
Yes.
that's yeah, and that's the objective. So principal associates are nothing but you see future partner, nothing but junior partners, you
Right.
see.
Fair
So,
enough.
and at every level, one should work as if he is already a senior. A principal associate should work as if he is a partner. A
Right.
senior associate should work as if he is the principal associate. An associate should work as if they are senior associates. So it
Yeah.
brings a lot of sense of responsibility
Right.
that way.
Right. Fair enough. I think that's a very interesting take. Sir, to develop just on this, simply because you mentioned that, let's say, PAs are simply, junior partners and future partners. To transition from the role of, let's say, a PA, into a partner at some point, is revenue generation the only criteria or other things are also looked at?
There are several facets attached to it. Yes, at the partner level, revenue generation is also one of the criterias. But you see, doing business development is not only about doing some networking and you get clients, you get work. Actually, it doesn't happen.
Right.
It's a
Okay.
streamlined process over a period of time. As you build your visibility, you
Hmm.
back up your visibility with the best work you do for your clients, whatever potential clients, etc. you get the work for, and that
Right.
is something which creates the trust. So it is not a 1 year process, 2 year, 3 year process. It may take certain years as well, right?
Right.
So
Right.
if principal associate is very good, right, is able to retain clients,
Hmm.
you see clients
Even
also
that
have
is
option to go
fine.
to
Huh. Yeah.
that is as good as revenue generation, right?
Okay.
It is
Yeah.
preventing revenue
Yes.
drain. See,
Yes.
a
Yes.
client is working with you, not leaving you and not going to another firm because you are doing such a good job, is
Right.
also a revenue generation at a level, right? Okay.
Fair enough.
Because
Fair
you can
enough.
only grow from a base which is a sustainable base, right? If the base is a floating base, then you are not growing actually in that way.
Understood. That's again a very, thought shifting perspective. I was under the opinion that as long as you're generating revenue, only then you become a partner, and as is like, a rumor or let's say just a market sentiment. But I understand that even someone who prevents drainage of revenue is also considered obviously an asset, and for all obvious reasons. That's a
Right.
very interesting thing. Sir, also one more thing, a lot of people and students have this query that, sometimes law firms become a little bit high pressure for some people and they're not able to, like, be a part of
Yeah.
that community. So they usually want to transition into in-house roles as well. And considering you must have already spoken with a lot of other in-house counsels as well during
Right.
your tenure. So My question is twofold. A, are M&A lawyers usually in demand in these in-house counsel positions? That is one thing. And secondly, what are these in-house counsels exactly doing in terms of their day-to-day responsibilities, let's say in a fund or in any other setup wherein an M&A lawyer is required? Yes.
So you see, the role of an in-house lawyer depends on the nature of organization he is part of. So, for example, if it is a conglomerate and looking for a lot of inorganic growth, a lot of acquisitions, the nature of business is such. Okay. Then M&A lawyers are at the forefront because that company would be expanding, doing a lot of acquisitions, will be doing a lot of joint ventures, for example, right? If that is the focus, then M&A lawyers would be on the front line. But at the same time, job of an in-house counsel is also to ensure that company and the corporate governance of the company is of the highest quality, is duly complied with the mandate of applicable law. So you, as in-house counsel, one should also know the general corporate aspects, the compliance aspects also. So you cannot be just a M&A lawyer as such, unless the nature of the company is such, because you see how many acquisitions a company will do in a particular year, 5, 7, 8. Some companies may do 15, but that's an extraordinary example actually. But you also have to have a lot of hold on general corporate compliance issues, the corporate governance issues. Especially, you see, the many GCs, most of the GCs now are also board of directors.
Okay.
So it is also their responsibility to facilitate,
Hmm.
implement, and give impetus to the corporate governance as much as
Right.
they can do
Right.
in a company. So it depends on actually the what is the nature of the company. When it comes to the fund, actually, you see, fund invests in a lot of companies. Okay.
Right. Right.
Now, the role of a funds lawyer
Hmm.
is whenever a fund is formed, fund comes out with different schemes for investment. All the fund lawyer actually oversees that. The
Right.
fund lawyer also oversees the investments which have been done and which are to be done by that particular fund.
Yes.
That whole compliance management, internal corporate governance, then there are mandates of SEBI from time to time to be complied with. So this is largely a role of a funds lawyer. Many funds lawyers work with us,
Okay.
wherein they are in-house funds lawyer. They
Okay.
have hired
Hmm.
us, for example, a law firm
Right.
for an investment transaction that they are doing. So
Hmm.
that funds lawyer
Hmm.
oversees the entire transaction and also acts as a coordination point between the fund's principals,
Right.
the general partners, etc.,
Right.
and us.
Okay.
And he becomes a coordinating point, and as well as he oversees the deal,
Okay.
oversees the entire deal actually.
Transaction. Hmm.
Yeah. So it depends on
Okay.
the nature of the company where the person is in-house lawyer. And
Hmm.
in-house lawyers have to continually deal with the business teams of a company, right?
Hmm.
Because business teams have a lot of demands, etc. They want to make sure that company is growing. When the company is growing, there will be more contractual arrangements. You have to revert very, very swiftly, actually, that way. So,
Fair.
it's not easy being an in-house lawyer actually. So you see, at
Right.
times in-house lawyer job also, they also lack work-life balance, to be honest, that way.
Right. And in fact, that is, I'm glad you genuinely touched on this point because a lot of people just like, walk up to me and be like, Ashna, I want to be, in a company because I want work-life balance. So I don't think that is the ideal criteria, that one should consider before joining. And especially when they're in high pressure situations like funds and otherwise other in-house counsels, I don't.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Because, time efficiency is demand of the market. Deals have to
Right.
be done quicker, right?
Right.
Something
Right.
has to be done quicker. One should know how to handle the pressure. Another
Right.
thing which actually lawyers miss, and they
Hmm.
learn in at later point in time over, with experience, etc. One should understand very clearly, law is a very different kind of a profession. It's not
Right.
an employment as such, right?
Right.
You
Right.
cannot base your work basis the clock, the
Yeah, it's
time, the
not like a
time
nine to
machine.
five sort of
Uh,
a thing. Yeah,
It's it's it's
exactly.
it, it is basically a way of life.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think it's a very bold take also on, the usual work-life balance conversations where like they treat law like an employment, like a 10 to 5 job or a 9 to 5 job. If it was that, then revenue generation cannot happen, quicker turnarounds cannot happen. Enough. So I think, sir, on that account, like is there any sort of resource or anything that you'd like to refer for students that they can use to upskill themselves? Like, any website or any reading materials or like any podcast, newspapers, anything that you feel that students should make it like their holy grail and like, do it as and when the time comes, to constantly upskill themselves with the commercial updatedness, with M&A, PEVC, funds related practice areas.
So first thing every law student should do, they should know their ground. So if a law student wants to get into corporate law practice, PE, M&A practice, start reading one commercial newspaper every day. Just one. You don't have to read multiple, just one. Pick up anything, Economic Times, Business Standard, Financial Express, whatever you like, and try to read corporate law related news, and then check what are the laws applicable to this. Just see if in the newspaper every day,
Right.
there is a news that a fund is acquiring a company,
Hmm.
there is an exit transaction. Then see what laws would be applicable, right? What corporate governance standards could be applicable, for example, and what is internal governance of the fund. Now, in today's time, there are multiple avenues to make your profile and broad base your knowledge. When I was in college, when I graduated, when I Jodhpur first batch, there were only very limited options. Either you can broad base your knowledge from the legal journals that were available or articles, those were being published, or even on public platforms like Google, they were not as good and as updated as they are today. Now, if somebody really wants to upskill anybody at any level, right from A0 to the partner level, you go to the YouTube, you see, you search on any topic, any law firm, good law firm across the globe, their partners would be speaking on their topic,
Fair
that
enough.
topic.
Yes, yes. So just one last question in this interview that does doing CS give a fresher law student any sort of value while they're getting interviewed for a job position? And also, does one need to have a very strong mathematical background or like understanding of mathematical principles to become an M&A PVC lawyer? Yes.
So to the first aspect of the question, look, it is your choice. You want to do CS. I think it will help you. Something is better than nothing, right?
Right,
If you're doing CS or maybe CA or some other diploma courses along with that, and many certificate courses, definitely it will help you.
right.
But if you don't do it, for example,
Hmm.
somebody is doing 5-year law course or 3-year law course,
Hmm.
but he is very clear in his basics. He knows his ground, as he spoke previously, right? He have been following the trends in the industry he wants to get in. More than enough, actually.
More than
It's
enough.
it's a good
Okay.
it's a good starting point. That said, if somebody wants to do CS, wants to do CFA simultaneously,
Right.
then
Huh.
more knowledge is welcome, as
Huh.
long as you can filter your knowledge and suit to
And
the
use it,
requirements of the table.
yeah, use it
Yeah,
efficiently also, not just acquiring knowledge and having no implication of that knowledge.
exactly. Right,
Right.
right, right, right,
Right, sir. And
right.
sir, what about mathematical understanding and just generally, like a lot of people have this misconception. I would like to say that we need to be really strong in maths for us to get into an M&A practice. I'm not sure where this opinion also comes into picture, but
No,
yes, if you could just,
I actually
huh,
I do not
hmm.
think so. I was not good in
Yes,
mathematics, and
yes,
that's
sir.
how I got into law, to be honest.
Okay,
So you see,
right,
I do
right,
not think so. Legal course is such a course over a 5-year period of time. If you do it very efficiently with the right focus and have a right, a growth mindset, you
right,
will be able to deal with all these kind of scenarios, because you will learn from your clients also,
right.
right?
Fair
You will
enough.
learn the commercials of the deal.
Hmm.
You will learn way more than you may not require a mathematics background.
Hmm.
Okay, but as long as you're open to understanding the commercial nitty-gritties,
Hmm.
that will be really helpful, because I do not see any algebra etc being used in
Right.
transactions,
Commercial
right? and
nitty-gritties
and
mean
and
balance sheets,
and
profit
then
and loss accounts, equity
yeah,
distribution.
those are
Huh.
those are not that difficult to understand, right? Those
Right.
are not that difficult to understand. And clients have their financial advisors also, if there
Right.
are, and the clients have management background. For example, there are CFOs also who will
Right.
help you, who will give their perspective, etc. So just saying that you need to be very good in mathematics, I really do not think so. You have to be A grader in mathematics, and then only you can
Okay.
be private equity and
Okay.
venture
I'm
capital
glad
lawyer.
that solves a lot of queries for students
Yeah,
on
yeah,
maths as well. And so just to like one last question, I'd like to slip in that
right.
uh you've already talked at length about skills and everything. However, sometimes, just to, let's say, highlight in a resume while one is sending application, it always helps when, we can highlight a few skills as well. So a lot of people try and highlight, let's say, their understanding and proficiency of using an MCA website, RBI website, SEBI website, or reading capitalization tables, etc. So any skills you think one should highlight definitely and one should have, in their resume while they're sending
So,
applications for fresher level position.
so yeah, okay. To answering to that, this is fine if you're highlighting that you are proficient in MCA websites, etc. This is
Right,
fine.
right,
Even if you are not, when you
right,
join a legal organization, you will become actually in first
right,
three to six
right.
months itself. You will get to know, because you see, don't never discount the learning you will get while doing the job, right? You
Fair enough.
cannot be job ready before doing that job.
Thank you so much, sir, for this conversation. I
Yeah.
hope other people in the industry also, like, step into your shoes and actually help us with all such great insights. So, on that note, I'll wrap the interview and thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you so much, Ashna. I hope this conversation will be useful to every viewer.
Definitely, it will be very highly, immensely useful for all the viewers. Thank you.